people are trying to enhance sleep quality or sleep depth by enhancing slow waves. And I guess what you're saying here is that, we still don't know yet if those slow waves are causally involved in the
Yeah.
recuperation that animals get from sleep, or if they're merely a close correlate of whatever is happening under the
Mhm.
hood.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So we know that slow waves are there. We know that they are homeostatically regulated, that
Mm.
they're high when your sleep pressure is high, and then they're reduced when you're about to wake up and you feel great. There was a very nice study. Again, I'm always going back to animals. It was a very nice study where EEG was recorded in deer. And indeed, yes. Actually, yeah, another remarkable. So someone put electrode. Of course, yeah, you need to be very careful. You don't drill the hole in the skull. You just you put, and then you know what deer are doing, or sheep, or the ruminants. They're chewing, right? So they're
Mm.
regurgitating food stuff and they're chewing a lot while being in this kind of sleep-like state. It's
Mm.
extremely difficult actually to tell whether the animal is sleeping or not when it is chewing, right?
Hmm.
Because there's all these muscles, they're very rhythmically activated.
Yeah.
The brain is completely in this mode of
Yeah.
which
Just as an artifact of the chewing.
exactly. It could be
Yeah.
artifact. It could be also that there is some entrainment, right? So
Yeah.
you see where I'm going, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
you can enter this very almost like meditation state when your
Yeah.
brain is doing rhythmically this stuff
Yeah. I mean,
in
that's
a very
that's like what
relevant
that's what
frequency.
meditation and prayer in humans really is, right? You're sort
Yeah,
of
like
engaging in a
breathing.
yeah.
Yeah, we know that breathing in trains is a very powerful a factor that entrains brain activity. So, and these animals are chewing, producing a lot of this quasi slow waves. I don't know how to call them. And the scientists who did this study actually found that the more the animals spend time ruminating, chewing, the more the stronger dissipation of sleep need is observed
Hmm.
from sleep before to after. It looks like they're discharging some of this sleep pressure encoded, reflected in sleep slow activity by chewing.
Hmm.
Right? So you don't need to sleep. Maybe someone could try just if you do this, and maybe it's all you need at the end of the day.
Hmm. Interesting. I mean, one thing I want to ask you about is sleep. So if we were trying to think about this problem of what is sleep and what is it doing, one other angle that's interesting here to me is just like any other trait, there's variability within populations. So if we're thinking about a single species, a single population, there's going to be some variability in the amount of sleep each individual needs each night. Right. So we know, for example, in humans, we know that most humans need adult humans that are normal and don't have some pathology. Right. Most of us need about 7 to 8 hours per day of sleep, but some people can get by with 7, some need 8 or 9, some might even get away with 6 or might need 10. And obviously that's more rare, but that does happen. Um, is there anything that we know about the variability in sleep need per day within populations that might somehow point to what's missing, or what do the people who need less sleep have that the other people don't? Is there what accounts for that individual variability?
Yeah, okay. First, before I answer the question, I have some objection for the word need, because the fact
Mm,
that you have something doesn't mean that this is what you need, right?
yeah, yeah,
Because for many reasons. First of all, if you have 7 hours, maybe because you have an alarm clock, and most of us, we can curtail our
yeah,
sleep.
yeah,
The environment has such a massive effect on our sleep that, yeah, to determine the
yeah.
true amount of sleep is not easy at all.
And I
So
guess
we're
I guess
talking
even when
about.
you have people who claim they only need 6 hours, maybe there is some deficit there, but they just power through it.
Yeah, yeah, but of course, there is good evidence that if you look at the amount or duration of sleep, it's very much like normally distributed.
Yeah.
So as you said, most of us have about 7 or 8 of hours of sleep. It doesn't mean that we need it, but we have it,
Yep.
right? And there are some extremes, so it's a very beautiful normal distribution. you can focus, of course, who's most interested in the extremes, right? So, and scientists look at this, what they call short sleepers and long sleepers,
Hmm.
and you call them as such only if they do the same also on the weekend. So when there
Mm.
is no fact, they don't have to. There is
Yep.
nothing outside
There's
that actually.
no alarm clock. There's no pressure to sleep less or more, but they do it naturally.
Exactly. And they still sleep less, or they still sleep more.
Hmm.
Uh, Again, going back to this sleep need, whether they need it. Um, uh, two ways to look at this. One is that sleep could be, as again, an old view could be how they call it, obligatory and luxury. So some of our sleep is non-negotiable. For whatever reason, we must produce it or obtain it, or and the rest we just fill the time when there is you don't need to be around. So this is one way to look at it. Another is the capacity for sleep. For example, when we get older, many of us would sleep less, but we are still debating. Is it because we need less sleep or because we are incapable to produce
Yeah.
sleep that we actually need?
Yeah. Maybe there's a breakdown of the mechanisms that produce sleep, and even though we
Yeah.
really could use it, we just can't generate it.
Yeah, exactly. But then another beautiful experiment was when these extreme short sleepers and long sleepers were put in a time-free environment. And if I remember correctly, they all kind of over time gravitated closer to the this middle. So those
Hmm.
who were in the real world, or I don't know how you call this world,
What do you mean by time-free environment?
meaning that they were like in a bunker.
Ah,
They didn't have the phone, they didn't
there's
have
no
the
external
TV.
cues as to what time it is.
Exactly, yeah. Can you imagine? Yeah, this is really the very interesting experiment that started actually quite a long time ago, maybe 60s or 50s last century, with Jürgen Aschoff doing classical
Hmm.
circadian experiments
Wow.
and
Was this
time frame
people like
environment.
experimenting with the possibility of like a nuclear event or something where people are in a bunker?
Yeah, probably the bunker was built for different
Yeah,
purpose,
yeah.
probably since the Second World War,
Okay.
but it was
Wow.
perfect for
Yeah.
circadian experiments, right?
So
When you
you put people in a bunker. Some of them normally sleep less. Some of them normally sleep more than the average. But if you put them in this bunker, they can't see the sun. There's no cell phone. There's no external cue. They start to converge and move
yeah.
towards the center.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't promise that this particular study they did in the bunker, but yeah, so
Yeah,
they
yeah.
did it in a setting where they have no clue what time is. So there are other very interesting phenomena emerge in the time-free environment. For example, a phenomenon called free running. Free running phenomenon emerges from the fact that our endogenous period is never exactly 24 hours.
Mm,
So it's normally it's slightly less, I believe, and this means that yeah, every day you wake up slightly earlier. So you basically you shift relative to the world outside.
mhm.
The same we find in lab mice, in basically any animal. So we have endogenous period close to 24 hours, no, never precisely, and this is why you shift. You every day either wake up either earlier or later. So these are very interesting classical experiments. But basically, what they tell us is the role of the environment, how important it is. When we try to make sense of our sleep need or the amount of sleep, if you think most of what we know about sleep comes from very artificial conditions, either
Mhm.
very abnormal conditions like our usual life, when we have so many factors that affect our sleep in a sometimes completely unpredictable way, or another extreme, we studied sleep in the lab, where conditions are so predictable, standard, sterile, they're so remote from conditions where sleep evolved that you again get some sort of distorted picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is why, yeah, we talking about sleep need, we don't really know what is our actual sleep need,
Hmm.
right? And to some extent, I think it's flexible. there are some, again, beautiful experiments in animals. This study was in birds, in jackdaws, and in starlings, a group in the Netherlands. They kept these birds in conditions either with a long day, like during the summer, and short day, as in the winter. And they would change it basically from day to day. And they did this experiment in actual summer and actual winter. The bottom line, these birds, they sleep when it's dark. Literally from one day to another, they could get or lose about 5 hours of sleep, which means that maybe indeed they're sleeping because it's dark, there's nothing to do, and this is why you spend time asleep. But this really tells us something about important that our concept of sleep need may be very misleading. Because so do these birds need 5 hours of sleep or 10 hours of sleep if they can produce 5 or 10 depending on the condition?